The last flame of Sol. The Council of Galactic Concord had not convened in emergency session for nearly a century. Yet now, the Great Chamber buzzed with urgency. Holographic avatars of species from across the galaxy shimmered in circular formation, voices overlapping in a dozen languages. Even a normally unflappable Kai of the Trinari clicked their mandibles in agitation. Above the central dais, a swirling projection showed the impossible. A fleet, human in origin, emerging from slipspace at the edge of Council space. Ragged ships, patched with mismatched alloys, staggered into real space like beasts that had clawed their way from hell. The largest vessel, an angular leviathan of scorched plating and crude weapon mounts, bore unmistakable scars of countless battles. Some ships displayed skeletal remains welded to hulls. Karnak warlords, unmistakable even in death. "This cannot be real," whispered High Arbiter the Lin of the Valari. The humans were eradicated. The Karnak claimed Sol 2 decades ago. They survived, came the cold reply from Seenval, the Zyran envoy. And from the looks of it, they didn't just survive, they won. The council chamber fell into uneasy silence as a communications request blinked insistently on the central console. It bore an ancient Terran transmission code, one long since thought dormant. Against protocol, the request was accepted. The projection flickered, revealing a dim-lit command deck. Steel bulkheads, exposed wiring, and flickering lights gave it the air of a machine held together by desperation and hate. A woman stepped into view. She wore scorched combat armor, patched with the emblems of fallen nations. Her face was lined, her eyes harder than alloy. "I am Captain Lara Voss of the Terran fleet," she said, voice like gravel scraped across a metal floor. "We have returned." Murmurs erupted across the council chamber. Voss continued, unfazed. "We sent distress signals. We begged for aid. None came. So we bled. We adapted. We hunted. And now," she raised her chin, eyes gleaming, "now we come not as petitioners. We come for our seat." Silence. Then uproar. "This is an outrage. They're dangerous. Look at those ships. Those are war trophies. That's Karnak blood on their hulls." A voice cut through the din. Calm, measured, ancient. "We will hear them," said Counselor Iska of the Erluin, one of the founding members of the council. Her form, a translucent veil of light, hovered serenely. "The humans endured what we did not stop. That is a stain upon us." Another voice hissed, in opposition. "They violated council law. Their warfare is barbaric. They desecrate the dead." Voss's face returned to the projection, lips tight. "You left us to die," she said. "The Karnak came to wipe us out. You watched." The Lin bristled. "It was not our war. Humanity was classified as pre-threshold. Intervention was forbidden." Voss leaned forward. "You let monsters murder billions, and now you cling to legality?" She stepped aside to reveal the bridge crew. Young men and women, their eyes hollow, uniforms mismatched, rifles always within reach. In the background, a wall of etched names, etched by hand into the steel itself. "This fleet is all that remains of Earth's navies, orbital colonies, and free Mars," Voss said. "We took Karnak ships, broke them. We chased their armadas into the dark and made them extinct. We became what we had to become." The council murmured again, this time with unease rather than outrage. Voss spoke once more, softer now. "We are not here to beg. We have rebuilt in the shadows while you debated policies. The outer systems you ignored? Ours now. We control the slip gates between 3 sectors. And if you deny us..." She let the sentence hang, then smiled, without warmth. "We will remain, regardless." Then the transmission cut. The chamber fell into stunned silence. For a moment, none dared speak. Finally, Iska turned to the council at large. "A decision must be made," she said quietly. "Are they a threat or a warning?" The hollow of the Terran fleet still hung above them, silent and blood-stained, gleaming under starlight. And humanity waited, blood and bureaucracy. The council chamber was unusually quiet the next cycle. The Terran fleet still loomed in orbit above the Concord Citadel, a silent and menacing presence that cast long shadows over the diplomatic moon of Valrun. Most fleets arrived with banners, orchestras, and emissaries. The humans had arrived with scars. A single human vessel had docked under strict escort. The Iron Memory was a behemoth, clearly once a civilian cargo hauler, now reinforced into a crude but lethal battleship. The hull still bore the scorched handprint of a Karnak warlord, seared onto the plating in some grim ritual of victory. In the council vestibule, the delegation waited. Captain Alara Voss stood with 4 of her crew, each armed, not with ceremonial blades like the Erluin, but with practical, scarred rifles slung tight across their backs. Their armor bore no insignias save one, a rust-red earth surrounded by a ring of 13 stars. Old Earth's forgotten flag, reborn as a symbol of unity in desperation. Counselor Iska floated to greet them. Captain Voss, the council has agreed to a preliminary hearing. You will be permitted to speak, but I must advise caution. Alara raised an eyebrow. We survived hell. Caution isn't what brought us here. Inside the Grand Assembly Hall, the debate resumed with all the tangled elegance of interstellar politics. Counselor Thelin of the Valari spoke first. The humans are unstable. Their behavior is violent. They were the remains of their enemies. Voss cut in. We honor the fallen, ours and theirs. The blood you see on our ships? Some of it's ours. We kept it there. As memory. Thelin recoiled. That's grotesque. Alara's voice didn't rise. What would you have us do? Wipe it clean? Forget them. Iska gestured for calm. Let the captain speak. You all saw their arrival. Now understand the path that led to it. Alara stepped forward. When the Karnak came, we resisted. Not with elegance. Not with fleets like yours. With fury. They bombed Earth into ash. Took Mars, cracked its domes. We ran into the dark. Asteroid fields, gas giants, dead stations. We scavenged. Adapted. She touched her armor. This plating? It's Karnak alloy. My rifle? Zyron targeting core. We learned fast. Or we died. Her gaze swept the hall. For 20 years, we fought without support. You watched. Some of you sold weapons to the Karnak. Quietly. Legally. A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Some averted their gaze. We didn't forget, she said. But we didn't come to wage war. We came to ensure this never happens again. To anyone. The Trinari ambassador, Kai, clicked his mandibles. You say you come in peace. Yet your ships carry weapons enough to level this station. Voss turned her gaze on him. That's not a threat. It's what it took to survive your indifference. A long silence. Then a younger counselor, a Terrani named Aura, stood. Her voice was quiet, uncertain. You speak of survival. But at what cost? What did humanity become out there? Alara looked at her, then slowly removed a metal plate from her forearm. Beneath it, a burn scar tattoo, once colorful, now faded and worn. It showed a family crest, old Earth style. Above it, a phrase in English and Terrani script. Live for the lost. We became what we had to, she said. But we didn't lose everything. Not our memory. Not our reason. Not our soul. Aura hesitated, then asked, and now? Voss stepped back. Now we want what should have been ours long ago. A seat. A voice. Protection for the next race that needs help. She tapped the data module on her belt. We've mapped 30 unregistered systems. Cleared Karnak remnants from 12 more. We've rebuilt. And we're not going back into the dark. She paused. But we haven't come to join a club that let us die. We've come to change it. The chamber remained hushed. Iska finally spoke. The council will deliberate. You and your crew may remain on Valruin until a decision is reached. Under observation. Voss gave a nod. Observation's fine. Just don't expect us to bow. As she turned to leave, the projection behind her changed, showing the human fleet in orbit, battered but resolute. Ships once thought extinct, now symbols of unyielding will. And for the first time in generations, the council felt fear, not of conquest, but of a species that had endured death and chosen to return anyway. The price of peace. The council chambers had never been this quiet for this long. For 3 cycles, the debate had continued behind closed doors. Outside, the presence of the human fleet remained a dark stain across the sky of Valruin, silent, unmoving, watching. The ships had not powered down their weapons. That in itself was a message. Captain Alara Voss stood on the viewing deck of the Iron Memory, hands behind her back. She watched the glittering arc of the Council citadel below, expression unreadable. Her second-in-command, Commander Jace Rourke, approached. "They're stalling," he said. "Try to outwait us." Alara didn't respond immediately. Her eyes remained fixed on the station. "They're afraid, as they should be." She turned. "Not of us, Jace. Of themselves. Of what they allowed." Rourke looked away, jaw clenched. "We have the evidence. The packet you gave them. It's not just the battle maps. You gave them the names." "I did," Alara said softly, "because they need to understand this isn't vengeance. It's accountability." She reached into a compartment on the console, retrieving a small data core. The lights on it blinked a soft red. "We have copies, of course. But it's not about leverage." "Then what is it about?" She looked at him. "Legacy. If we're going to be part of this council, they need to see the cost of their inaction. Not just the body count. The betrayal." The doors behind them opened with a soft chime. Counselor Aura of the Tyranny stepped into the room, flanked by a single guard. Alara didn't bow. Neither did Rourke. "I requested a private audience," Aura said quietly. "I'm not authorized to speak on behalf of the council. But I needed to know." "To know what?" Alara asked. Aura stepped forward. "If this presence of yours is retribution." Alara studied her. The Tyranny were a long-lived race, graceful and diplomatic. But young by their standards, Aura still bore idealism behind her eyes. Alara spoke slowly. "If it were retribution, Counselor, your station wouldn't still be floating." Aura nodded. "Then why come at all? You've won. You have territory, power, even the remains of Karnak fleets under your control. What do you want from us?" Alara turned back to the viewport. "We want the next species not to go through what we did. We want a voice loud enough that no future council forgets what silence costs." She paused. "We were a fractured world once. Borders, flags, fates. It took annihilation to make us one. That's the price we paid to stand here." Aura's voice was soft. "And how many died?" Alara met her eyes. 8 billion. Maybe more. We stopped counting when the atmosphere choked the satellites." The silence between them stretched long. Then Aura said, "Some of the council members, my own elders among them, knew the Karnak were building toward war. Some even encouraged it. Quietly. They feared what humanity might become." "They were right," Alara said. "We became exactly what they feared. Not conquerors. Survivors." Aura lowered her gaze. "If I vote in your favor, I may lose my place. My world might sanction me." Alara stepped closer, voice low. "Then do it anyway. Because when history looks back on this moment, they won't remember who kept their seat. They'll remember who did the right thing." A long moment passed before Aura nodded and turned to leave. At the threshold, she paused. "There's one more question," she said. "Do you believe peace is still possible for your kind?" Alara considered that for a moment. Then, "Only if we're part of it." Later that cycle, the council chamber convened again. One by one, the votes were cast. Holograms shimmered red or green. No speeches, no grandstanding, just numbers. When the final vote tallied, it was close, uncomfortably close. The result: admission granted, full council status, conditional oversight. In the council atrium, diplomats erupted in arguments. Some stormed out. Others stood in shocked silence. The Tyranny delegation remained still. Aura's eyes were closed. Back aboard the Iron Memory, Alara received the transmission. She stared at the words for a long time. Humanity granted a seat. Effective immediately. Rourke leaned forward. "What now?" Alara looked at the council citadel, now basking in false peace. "Now," she said, "we remind them who we are, a seat at the end of the galaxy." The chamber had never seen anything like it. A new seat had been added to the council's great circle. It sat apart, not by accident, but by deliberate design. Placed at the farthest end, beneath the shadow of the upper observatory, it was equal in size and authority, yet undeniably separate. A quiet statement. You are one of us, but we will never forget what you are. Humanity's seat. The ceremonial induction was brief by council standards. No processions, no choirs, no parades. The humans had declined all offers of tradition and festivity. Captain Alara Voss walked alone into the chamber, her armor polished but unaltered, the same battle-scarred plating she had worn on arrival. No flag, no anthem, only the silence of a species that had earned its place not through diplomacy, but through fire. Counselor Iska rose from her floating perch and addressed the hall. Let the record show, she said in the ancient tongue, that by decree and vote of the Galactic Concord, the species known as Homo sapiens, Terrans, are hereby granted full status as a council member race. Their representative is present. She gestured to Alara. Captain Voss, you may speak. Alara stepped forward, every movement measured. We were born on a fragile world, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. It was blue and green once. Now it's gray dust and poisoned oceans. But we remember. She paused. When the Karnak came, they told us we were prey, that the galaxy had no place for the weak, that survival was a privilege earned only by those willing to kill for it. Her eyes swept the chamber. You proved them right. You did nothing. A murmur rippled through the hall, but no one interrupted. We became what we had to, she continued. We buried our children in airless craters. We carved warships from scrap. We spilled blood until the void knew our name. She took a breath, and we won. Another pause, but we didn't return for revenge. If that was our goal, we wouldn't be standing here. We came to ensure no one else suffers the silence we did, to speak for those who die screaming into the stars, unheard. We are not your relics, your mistake, or your monsters. We are your equals. Her gaze turned hard, and we will not apologize for surviving. Silence reigned. Then Iska nodded. Let it be recorded. Humanity has spoken. Alara turned, stepped down, and walked slowly to her seat, metal boots echoing on polished stone. When she sat, the chamber felt different, no longer complete in its comfort, no longer untouched by blood. It was the beginning of something new, or the beginning of the end. Above the station, the Terran fleet drifted quietly. In a hangar aboard the Iron Memory, a young cadet stood at a viewport, staring out at the stars. His name was Alec Marin, just 16. He had never seen Earth, only heard stories of oceans and forests and blue skies. To him, home was steel corridors and filtered air. Is it true? He asked. We have a seat now. Behind him, Alara nodded. We do. He turned. So it's over? She stepped beside him. Nothing's ever over. But this? It's a beginning. Alec looked back at the stars. They're scared of us. They should be, she said. But not for the reasons they think. He frowned. Then why? Alara rested a hand on the railing. Because we remember. Because we endured what they denied. Because we didn't break. She looked down at the council citadel below. So bright, so clean, so unscarred. We're not here to conquer, she said quietly. We're here to remind them what peace costs. What happens when you look away too long? Alec was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, do you think they'll ever accept us? Alara smiled faintly. They don't have to. And with that, she turned and walked away, the clang of her boots fading into the hum of the ship. Outside, in the void, the human fleet waited, scarred, battered, and whole. A warning written in blood, a promise forged in fire, a new voice in the silence of the stars.